Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are chapter 6 Bhagavad Gita. We'll be doing verse 8 today. And basically Krishna Bhagwan is telling what preparation of the mind is needed before we embark on meditation. And then he's also telling the goal, that the person who reaches that stage and what happens. So we have something to look forward to, that what we are supposed to achieve and all that. That's in a nutshell. And the last verse that we did, verse 7, it says that the supreme self of him who is self-controlled and peaceful is balanced in cold and heat, pleasure and pain, and also in honor and dishonor. That means 3 different states of body, mind, and intellect. Everything becomes sama. He remains equanimous in all of those. And in the same idea is now further in telling some more indicators or the goals, you can say. And then this also is a little bit similar to the Lakshan of Sthita Prajna, man of steady wisdom. So from chapter 2, so these are some more qualities, the more things that's going to happen to a person who reaches that final state. So here is verse 8. I'm going to chant. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutastho Vijitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. Gnana Vijnana Truptatma, one who is satisfied with knowledge and wisdom. So in Vedanta, when they say Gyan and Vijnana, there is a difference in it, and we will see what it means. Knowledge and wisdom, and we will go in more detail into it. And here it says in parentheses self-realization. So wisdom is actually self-realization. Kutastha, unshaken. The word comes a lot in Vedanta, and we'll go more in detail where the word came from. Vijitendriyaha, who has conquered the senses. You know, जिसने इंद्रियों पर विजय पाली हो. That's the Vijitendriyaha. Yuktaha, ये भी word बहुत बार आएगा. आ चुका है पहले भी. United or harmonized. So yogi word है, the one who is striving to unite, and yukta means जो हो चुका है unite. It's yukta. Iti is thus. Uchyate is said. Yogi, you already know, the one who is striving. Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. So there are 3 things over here. Loshta, Ashma, and Kanchana. Loshta means lump of earth, like mud. Lump of mud, you can say. A stone and gold. So those 3 things in. So those are the word meanings. Now let's see what he's saying over here. So he was talking about that, you have to become yoga ruda, means have a control over your mind. And what happens after you become yoga ruda and you continue, to practice? You become gnana vijnana truptatma. So that means you become truptatma. सभी को मालूम है हिंदी में यहाँ पर तृप्त हो गया कोई. जैसे कि कोई पेट भर के किसी ने खा लिया हो और उसके सामने कोई और खाना रखो, वो नहीं खाएगा, because he is all completely satisfied. वैसे वो completely satisfied with whole life. And because he is, उसको ना ज्ञान और विज्ञान हो चुका है. So what does in Vedanta ज्ञान और विज्ञान में क्या फर्क है? So ज्ञान बोलते हैं कि when knowledge is acquired from scriptures, understand what is the nature of self, what we are doing. So वो knowledge के अंदर में आता है यहाँ पे. So and what are scriptures? Scriptures are the words of realized masters, because this realized master in their meditation, gets it's got download happens to them actually from higher, and that's what turns into scriptural words. So these are the people who have realized themselves, their own self. And then such a person is telling us that, look, you are not the body, mind, and intellect, but you are pure consciousness. And so all these things that what we are learning from the words of realized master, that comes under Gyan. And basically, some saints and sages say that scriptures are the mirror. In two different senses, they are the mirror. Firstly, they tell you where you stand. We may be, oh, I have reached here and there, but no, they'll tell you where you stand. That's one way of, you can call it a mirror. Another way is, it shows you your own reality. जैसे कि मिरर में देखते हैं तो हमको अपना चेहरा दिखाई देता है, right? So वैसे you see your inner face, you can say. That's another thing. So when we talk about scriptures, basically, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, all the Vedantic scriptures, and they are the one, they reveal the nature of the self to us. And then, Nikhilanandji said, this subject is very difficult to study on your own. So that's why you need, to hear it from a teacher, Shravanam. So that comes under Shravanam. But then Shravanam is not enough. See, we'll be repeating a lot of things, but that's how Vedanta is, that so that when the right context, we repeat other things so that it sinks in better and we can make the connection. So he's saying that, Swamiji said that what we hear about to contemplate and understand properly is a very important step. Because if you just read it once or hear it once or something, it's not going to, you won't get it. So you have to hear it from a teacher, then contemplate, understand it properly. And that's, scriptures are the one who tells you who I am. And so I have to understand this intellectually beyond all doubts. That's the goal. So he was explaining that with contemplation, doubts are going to come, but that's okay. Keep resolving it. And then, he gave a very good example. He said it's like a scientist who wants to send a satellite in the space. Before he sends the satellite, he does all the research and understand the process on the paper first. So that is all Gyan ke andar mein aayega. So before he implements it. And then many times on the paper itself, he will come across confusion, problem and all that, and he has to resolve everything. That's what comes under, Shravanam and Mananam, listening and contemplation. And he's saying, so after listening, you intellectually got convinced now, beyond all doubt, said, okay, this is my nature. And so what are they saying, who I am? So the example of space is a very good one, that scripture say that I'm like that space. I'm not that body, mind, and intellect. And once intellectual appreciation happens in me, so that's become Gyan. So he was just cautioning people that when Vedanta talks about this kind of Gyan, it is not a general knowledge they are talking about. कि hey, वो फलाना country का president कौन है, उसका score क्या हुआ, ये वो, nothing to do with that. It's more like my personal journey, who am I? That is the Gyan they are talking about over here. Because people might get confused about, keep acquiring more knowledge. No, that's not what they're talking about. And even in the scriptures, he's saying that lot of people get stuck in the stories. वो युधिष्ठिर ने वैसा क्यों किया, तो फिर फलाने ने वैसा क्यों किया, within the story. So he's saying that if you get caught up in that, that's gossip. It is divine gossip, he said. But that's not what they're talking about over here. Because Upanishad, that's why Upanishad directly goes to that. Even if they put the stories are like, they put Nachiketa ka story in Kathopanishad, very quickly they went to the subject. So he was just reminding, I thought that was an interesting point he said, because I have seen a lot of people just get stuck into those arguments about the stories itself. So that is Gyan. And then he brought in Tattva Bodh. Wait, I think some... No. Kamlaji, you are on two devices for some reason. And you have to mute. Yeah. So it was interesting that in the commentaries for this particular verse, as well as the Kathopanishad verse that we are going to come across today, there were two different Swamis I was, following. One was Tejomayanandi for Kathopanishad and for, besides Chinmayanandi, of course, and Nikhilanandi for this. Both of them brought up Tattva Bodh from Shankaracharya. So I don't know if all of you are familiar, but there is a scripture called Tattva Bodh by Shankaracharya, and he has explained lot of, Tattva means essence, right? What is our essence? And he has explained a lot of terms and everything, because most of the Swamis, they follow Shankar Bhashya. So it's kind of important that how he looks at things. So he explains that Atma that we are talking about, because a lot of people get very confused with the word Atma. Some people call subtle body the Atma, right? Oh, Atma nikal gayi uski. But the way we are learning Atma cannot go anywhere, because Atma and Brahman is all pervading, So just, like sometime they use terms like, oh, uski Atma usme pravesh kar gayi, or something. So they're confusing subtle body with that. So just keep that in mind. So when he talks about Atma in Tattva Bodhi, he's talking about pure consciousness. Okay, he's not talking about your thoughts or your body or your imagination that you have, but the actual who you are. Okay, and that Atma is different from your gross physical body, mind, impression, and the 5 koshas. Because Atma has those 5 koshas, and we have done this in the past, but I'll just quickly review it because it's good to review. So there's Annamaya Kosh, food sheath, with this body. Then there is Pranamaya, the life principle. All the pranas are the one, when the subtle body leaves, subtle pranas leave with them too. So these are the one, all our digestive system, our circulatory system, and all that. That's Pranamaya Kosh. Then there is Manomaya Kosh, mind. Then the next one is called Vijnanamaya Kosh. That's our intellect. So there's another word, Vijnan has come over there. And last one is Anandamaya Kosh. Anandamaya Kosh is also a kosh, which is impressions of the past in your deep sleep. In the seed form, they remain. But because you are not connected with your body and mind, you are in kind of bliss. Not that highest bliss, but everybody knows that when we get deep sleep, when we wake up, we feel so good. That's why everybody loves this deep sleep, because that's where you get this, that's why it's called Anandamaya Kosh. So what in Tattva Bodhi explained that how this Atma is different than all the 5 koshas also. Okay? And another way you can see, whoever has done Mandukya together, that it's a witness of the waking, dream, and deep sleep state, that Atma. And it is indicated what? By Sat Chit Anand. Most of us now know this, but this fits in here properly. What are they talking about? So it is pure existence, knowledge, and bliss, if you want to translate in English, Sat Chit Anand. And what the scriptures tell you is Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. So we have to intellectually, we have to understand this completely. And then also in chapter 2, whoever was there from the beginning or whoever knows about Bhagavad Gita till now, that chapter 2, Krishna Bhagwan already told Arjun that hey, you are not this body, but you are that Atma which neither is born nor it dies. So when we understand this beyond any doubts, convinced about it, that's called knowledge. So in conclusion, knowledge happens by Shravanam and Mananam. And the next word is Vijnana, because Jnana Vijnana Truptatma. So Vijnana means in Shankaracharya only gave this definition. Actual experience is called Vijnana. And that is called the realization. And they have some other words also. Aparoksh Anubhuti. Aparoksh Anubhuti ka English translation है direct experience. Not from the book. अभी तक हम लोग ने पढ़ा है सब book में वगैरह, but जिसको direct experience हो जाता है, like Sadguru को हुआ, or Ramana Maharishi, or the people that we know in this era, and autobiography of Yogananji, he talks about that, aparoksha anubhuti. So that's a direct experience. So what they are saying is, when you go on this path of meditation, you come to directly recognize it. And then the Gyan turns into Vigyan. So basically what he's saying, that the yoga root, the person जिसका माइंड कंट्रोल में हो गया हो, जब वो कंटिन्यू करता है अपने पाथ पे, तो वो उसको ज्ञान और विज्ञान मिल जाता है, फिर वो कंप्लीटली सेटिस्फाइड हो जाता है, तृप्त आत्मा बन जाता है। एक बार अगर उसको विज्ञान में पहुंच गया तो वो, दैट्स व्हाट इट इज। बिकॉज ही वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग कि हाउ व्हेन वी आर एट द स्टेज ऑफ थिंकिंग एंड कॉन्टेम्पलेटिंग, सो डाउट्स में रिमेन, लेकिन अगर डायरेक्ट एक्सपीरियंस हो जाता है ना, तो वो trace of the doubt भी नहीं रहता है. And I can give you one worldly example, that suppose somebody said, go up that mountain and it is going to be so beautiful over there and all that, right? So हम लोग का एक imagination है, ऐसा ऐसा होगा, and then I have some doubts, I'm this person may not be telling the truth, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है, whatever, what doubts I have. But when I actually reach there and see it with my own eyes, then I have no doubt will remain ever. That's what they're talking about, that once you experience it yourself. And then he gave the example of Ramana Maharishi, and he said, he's not going to get confused about who I am, no matter what somebody tells him. The Shastras are bluffing, and there's no such thing as Atma, whatever he may say. He already has the experience. So that's what that Vigyan he's talking about. So उसके बाद उन्होंने word किया है use, ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा के बाद कूटस्थ, and I was telling you that word comes a lot. भगवद गीता में भी आता है, दूसरे शास्त्रों में भी आता है. What does this कूटस्थ means? Simple translation is completely steady, but where the word has come from, and steady in, of course, the subject is self, so abidance in the self. So these are all the, not all the, sorry, this is exactly what he's talking about, the same thing that we studied, sthita prajna was the word used, sthita prajna in chapter 2, or characteristic of a man of steady wisdom, same as kutastha, they are same people. So when somebody becomes nature of the self alone, free from all agitations and all that, then he becomes like a kutastha, means no disturbance at all. And kuta word has come from, it's called anvil. Anvil, if somebody told me anvil, मेरे को anvil भी समझ में नहीं आएगा, because we live in kind of the world that those things don't happen in front of our eyes. But blacksmith जिसको बोलते हैं ना, वो लुहार, हिंदी में बोलते हैं लुहार, तो it seems that उनके पास एक लोहे का कुछ होता है, फिक्स्ड चीज़ होती है, जिसमें वो लोग पिघला हुआ लोहा ऊपर लाके कूटते हैं उस पर जोर जोर से, और उसको शेप देते हैं. तो वो जो बेस है ना, वो उसको कूट बोलते हैं. और कूटस्थ हो जाना मतलब कि लाइक अ बेस, कि कुछ भी उस पर आए वो नहीं बदलेगा, पर इट बिकम्स अ सोर्स ऑफ चेंज फॉर अदर थिंग्स. यू सॉ द मीनिंग ना, कि खुद तो एकदम फिक्स रहे, लेकिन उसके ऊपर दूसरी चीज़ें चेंज होती रहती है. बिकॉज वो जब वो लोहार नई नई चीज़ें बनाता है, तो वो पिघला हुआ लाता है, फिर उसको कूटता है जोर जोर से, फिर वो शेप ले लेता है, फिर दूसरी चीज़ लाता है, तीसरी चीज़ लाता है, मगर उसका जो बेस है वो वैसा का वैसा ही रहता है. दैट्स व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट. अदर एग्जांपल दैट आई थिंक दैट वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इट over here before, Anil ji had brought that example. He likes it very much, about screen and the movie. Screen stays the same. You can have a comedy movie, you can have a murder mystery, you can have a romantic movie, whatever, but screens remain the same. So that is kutastha. Screen is kutastha over there. Just remember this word. So he's talking about that the person who has become jnana vijnana truptatma, he has also become kutastha. Why does he become kutastha? Because he is now established in that knowledge completely. Usko experience ho gaya. And he's not going to change from there. And then the next word they have used is vijitendriya. So ऐसा व्यक्ति जो होगा, वो completely sense control उसका हो जाता है. Okay, we have to struggle with it, but that person is completely become Vijitendriya. So his indriyas are not going to do any action without his permission. That's what it is. So he's saying that Nikhilanandji said that if you see eyes of a realized master, they'll be very still. Very shant and still they will be. They're not going to be. And in Yog Vashishta, it seems that when they were describing, Vashishtaji was describing the realized master, one of the characteristic he gave, they don't get surprised by anything in the world. He's saying, हम लोग जरा सी बात पे, oh my God, ऐसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया. Oh, nothing phases them. He's saying that कि अगर कोई दूसरा चंद्रमा भी आ जाए ना, तो भी उनको फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Means इतना कूटस्थ हो जाता है, not shaken by anything. So he's saying that we have incidents of कि Ramana Maharishi is sitting and snake came. सब उठ के भागने लगे, वो बिल्कुल वैसे के वैसे शांत, that kind of thing. And I've heard कि they come and sit, like lions and all come and sit near, I think which was that movie of Swaminarayan Temple की movie जो किसी ने देखी होगी. I don't remember the title, but they showed that this yogi who was Swaminarayan ji, बचपन में he at किसी गांव में गए और in the middle of the night or somebody saw him that he was in meditation and one lion was sitting next to him. It's supposed to be a true story. So that's what they're talking about. We can't imagine that, but it does happen to because they're completely at peace. And another example he gave was their mind is like a still lake. Koi halchal, when a still lake, everything reflects beautifully in there. Like that is their mind. That's called Vijitendriya, Kutastha and all that. And next word is used over here is Yuktaha. So what is Yuktaha? That who is completely integrated. Integration has happened within him. Like we were talking about, we have 3 personalities, body, mind, intellect. All of them are in one line. That's one, definition. And the other one is that जो योगी जब realization हो जाता है ना, तो वो युक्त हो जाता है. The yogi is the one who's striving. And the one he gets that final goal, then he's called yuktaha. And so these are the adjectives used for a final person who's got that goal. Then what happens is that kind of person, those 3 things I was talking about, he becomes not sama means he looks at it at the same way, whether it's a clod of mud, or it is a stone, or it is gold. So that doesn't mean he doesn't know the utility of it, because we know, किसी को gold दिया तो वो फेंक देगा. No, he knows कि world में उसकी क्या utility है, but बेकार का उसके ऊपर superimposition नहीं करेगा वो. Like how people get attached and people get, overvalue something and all. That's what he's not going to say. But why did Krishna Bhagwan say that? We have to analyze that. Why did he say that उसके लिए सब कुछ same हो जाता है? Because पहले वाले वर्ष में उन्होंने क्या बोला था कि वो heat and cold में happy और unhappy और honor और dishonor में सम रहता है, right? वो हम लोग को बताया था. अभी वो बोल रहे हैं कि ये सब वस्तुओं में वो भी वो सम रहता है. So it's the same idea coming over here. And why does he remain sama? Because he knows that Brahman is the common in all of it. And it's only name and form outside. Okay? That's all he knows. So from his perspective. So, and he also knows that everything that you see is expression of my own self or that Brahman. So we still might have a doubt कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है, right? So the saints and sages give an example of a dream. He's saying that when I'm dreaming something, suppose I'm dreaming of some really beautiful scenery, I go there and I see, there is a sand over there, and then I see stones over there, and also maybe some gold I find in my dream, suppose. So he's saying, okay, everything is in my dream, I will think, oh, gold is very valuable, right? What will happen if I wake up? What will be the value of all three? Can I take that gold home now? Nothing, right? So, as just like you wake up from a dream into the waking world and say, oh, it was all dream. What difference it makes if I saw gold or a stone or everything is same because it was just a projection of my mind. Exactly same thing, a principle you apply. When he wakes up to that higher reality, for him, it all becomes same from that perspective. So, from a standpoint of a jnani and all the other adjectives that we saw, that kind of person, he sees everything same. But an ignorant person is not going to do that, obviously. And then, Meera ji is not here today. She loves Ramayana, and that, Nikhilanand gave a chopai from the Ramayana. I thought it was really beautiful. Because every scripture has a similar thought, Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana, Prem te prakat hoi mein jana. So he's saying Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana, everywhere it's the same. He sees everywhere the same, homogeneous kind of. Okay, I think. So yeah, one more very important point. Why he looks at the same way? Because his peace and happiness doesn't depend on it. Actually, that's a more important word. Because what happens to us is, we look at it from our utility point. Whatever is beneficial to me is valuable. Whatever is not, oh, who cares? Throw it away. Selfish kind of. So he actually gave a drishtant, which was really, that drishtant you will understand what they are talking about, the saints and sages. So the drishtant he gave was, one teacher asked a student कि भाई ये जो चूहा होता है ना, उसकी टेल की क्या वैल्यू है? Why does he have a tail or something? तो वो काफ़ी सोचा उस स्टूडेंट ने, फिर कहता है कि जब वो चूहा मर जाएगा ना, तो उसको टेल से उठा के कूड़े में फेंक देंगे. So he's saying, he's thinking from his perspective कि वो टेल की क्या वैल्यू है. No, that's not true. Only probably a scientist or some zoologist can say that what is the value of the tail. He's just looking at it from his perspective. Saying like that, what happens is that people think so egotistically that the sun is rising for me, the moon is rising for me, and animals all are just for me, my pleasure, or, these birds and everything belong to me. So selfish attitude happens, but the realized soul is not like that. He doesn't think that the world is made for just his entertainment or something like that. He looks at it with the same vision, and he respects everything, and he looks at it as a pure existence. So he was just saying that how the stone exists, the gold exists, the mud exists. He is looking at the existence, and he also knows that the power by which he is aware of all three. Remember we talked about it, that the power behind all our senses is that Atma, wo bhi same hi hai. Or when you are not dependent on these things, jo joy milta hai, wo bhi same hi hai. Whether it is a stone or if you're not dependent on any of these things, then the joy is also same. That's what happens. And the similar verse has come earlier also in one of the chapters. So he's saying that जो ऐसा युक्त होता है ना, you can look at it both ways कि भाई ऐसा युक्त person will be realized, or the realized person is yukt. Both ways you can look at it. So one comes to recognize one's own self. That's the journey they're talking about. And then he sees the same in the whole universe or cosmos. That's what this verse is talking about. Any question, comment, anybody wants to add anything? Yes, Dr. Prabhakar.
Umaji, I just wanted to ask you that you mentioned about Jnana is knowledge. And Vijnan, you mentioned that it is Vijnan is a state like, fully satisfied or, realization happens at the Vijnan. I heard that the Vijnan is also wisdom.
Yeah, you can call it wisdom too. Yeah, that's correct also. So one is knowledge
is
and
it before realization, or is it part of realization? I'm not sure.
So when they talk about jnana and vijnana, they are talking about after realization is vijnana. But in the very, say, from the worldly perspective, we say jnana or vijnana. So a simple example, suppose if I want to learn swimming, the first, I learn, hey, I have to move my hand like this, the whatever, that's gyan. Then I jump in the water and I practice and I got experience, that becomes vijnana.
Yes.
So that's the difference. So what they are talking about here is that you do shravanam and mananam.
Right.
And then nididhyasan is the final experience. That comes through meditation when you get the experience of the oneness. Then it becomes vijnana according to them. But your definition is also, they use it like that, knowledge and wisdom, because wisdom is when it has become one with me.
Right.
I have no doubt about it now.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it.
Yes,
correct.
Yes, because I have experienced it.
Okay. So in this context, it says that Vijnan is the direct experience.
Yes.
Is the direct experience same as realization?
Yes, it is. Because yeah, absolutely. The word that is called self-realization, that is So we are at Gyan level right now. Yeah.
So only Gyan level.
At least me, I don't know about, I cannot speak about other people.
Yes.
There may be, Joe has had experiences and all that. So, it's what the person they are talking about over here in this verse, Kutastha and Vijitendriya Yukta, Truptatma, is the one उसको हो गया वो. अब क्योंकि कृष्ण भगवान गोल दिखा रहे हैं ना कि देखो तुमको वहां पहुंचना है.
अच्छा ठीक है.
Before we start, कि होता है ना कि मेरे को कहाँ पहुंचूंगी मैं, यहाँ पर पहुंचोगे आप. That's what he's talking about.
Okay. So we are we are just at the Jnana level, and then slowly we'll go into Vijnana level.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But Jnana level is the first step, because what happens is that if you don't go through the Jnana level and somebody start meditating directly, I have heard they can become neurotic totally. Because Swamiji had talked about it one place, that all the energies you have accumulated now, because you are trying to concentrate, you are doing, now you don't know where to channelize it.
Okay.
Because you don't even know where the goal is. Like this person, who's like, oh, I want to become buff and I want to become strong, and he doesn't channelize his energy to, फिर वो गुंडा बन जाएगा. फिर जाके किसी को पीटेगा वो. See what I'm saying? So that's why he's telling, first you find out what the goal is, then you can channelize it. And that's why he said that learn who God is, then you can meditate upon it. So in the next 6 chapters, lot of verses are going to come, meditative verses. Especially in chapter 8 and all that, what we should be meditating upon, all that will come.
Thank you.
Any other person has anything to say? Okay. Volunteer today to read?
I can read.
Okay, great. Neeluji?
The yogi who is satisfied with knowledge and wisdom, who remains unshaken, who has conquered the sense, to whom a lump of earth, a stone, and gold are the same, is said to be harmonized. In other words, is said to have attained nirvikalpa samadhi.
Highest level of samadhi is nirvikalpa samadhi.
Such an individual, self-controlled and serene, who has constantly come to contemplate upon the nature of the self as understood from the Shastras through all his circumstances in life, soon becomes, says Krishna, filled with a divine satisfaction and becomes an unshakable yogi. Here the satisfaction is not merely the joy that a true and intelligent man comes to enjoy when he carefully studies the masters Vedanta. According to Krishna, the satisfied contentment which a true yogi comes to experience is much superior to the thrill joys experienced in all intense studies.
See what he's explaining here, Dr. Prabhakar, that how just by intense studies we also get joy, right? That's why we come to the class, that we really find some joy, happiness in it. But he's talking about something much beyond that. Okay, so yeah.
The knowledge gained through study is indicated here by the term yajna.
No, gyan. That word is gyan.
Okay.
I know, but that's how we say it.
Sure. By the term gyan, and the first-hand experience gained by the speaker of the self in himself is called the knowledge of direct perception, which is termed here in the Geeta vocabulary as Vijnana.
So see, यहाँ पर उन्होंने अपना स्वामी जी ने दिया definition ज्ञान और विज्ञान का, when it is direct perception. एक तो मैंने किसी की दूसरे की बात सुनी और फिर भी मैं कन्विंस हो रही हूँ, हाँ, you know, like that's true. अब मैं खुद जाके देख लिया उसको. That's what the difference in ज्ञान and विज्ञान according to this. Yeah.
Unchanging, immutable, kuta.
No, kutastha.
That's the, you explained, right?
Yeah, kutastha. That's the word, kutastha.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when they write Sanskrit word in English, it's very difficult to pronounce if you're not used to it. And that's why you were saying, no, वो J लिखा हुआ है, because we say North India में हम लोग ज्ञान बोलते हैं. ये लोग महाराष्ट्रियन लोग और गुजराती लोग ज्ञान बोलते हैं. That's why the J is there. They don't say ज्ञान. In fact, they correct me कि क्या, it's not ज्ञान, it's ज्ञान. So I have to practice like that. Or you know, Arjun, I say Arjun, they say no, Arjuna. So because हम हिंदी में हम लोग अर्जुन बोलते हैं, कृष्ण बोलते हैं. We don't say Krishna and Arjuna, but
no, even in South, particularly Telugu speaking, in words it is non. You're right.
Yeah, and you are Maharashtrian, so that's why you know what I'm talking about. You know, Gnana. So that I just want to tell you. Yeah, okay.
This is the term used for the eternal self. Its expressiveness becomes apparent when we understand that the term kuta in Sanskrit means the anvil. The anvil is that upon which the blacksmith places his red-hot iron bits and hammers them into the required shapes. This is what you were explaining,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of the hammerings, nothing happens to the anvil. The anvil resists all modifications and change, but allows all other things to get changed upon it. Thus, the term kutastaha means that which remains anvil-like, and though itself suffers no change, it makes others change.
See, what I get amazed at, that there in our Shastras, the examples are so wonderful. You know, because once they explain to us, now we know what kutastha means. So उसकी personality kutastha हो जाती है. You know.
He is a saint and has the full-blown fragrance of perfection, who has sought and discovered a perfect contentment which arises out of the subjective experience of what the Shastra says, and has come in contact with the self. That changes not, and such a saint becomes tranquil and a master of equal vision in all conditions of his life. To him, a clod of mud, a precious stone, a costly gold are all the same. This equanimity of mind in profit and loss at the acquisition of precious things or at the presentation of mere filth is the very test to show that the individual has spiritually evolved and that to him no gain can bring an extra joy or any loss or any sorrow.
So now you know that where all these things are coming from, because if somebody has got the highest thing already, he's not going to worry about profit and loss. It's like if somebody's got infinite amount of, this is a bad example, but maybe it will. If somebody's got infinite amount of money, is he going to care about profit and loss or something that happens? No, he's not going to worry about that. That's what he's talking about. That he has now become, he's got everything. So why is he not going to worry about these small things? That's what it is.
In my dream, I earned a lot of wealth, but ere I enjoyed it fully, I woke up to my waking state, poverty. In my destitution, when I am suffering the pangs of hunger, I will not feel in any sense of the term consoled by the thought that I was rich in my dream and that in my dream bank, in its dream vaults, I had my dream riches. Similarly to a master who has gained perfection when he has transcended the world of the mind and intellect and has achieved the true awakening of the soul thereafter. A lump of earth, a piece of gold, or a precious stone of this world are all equally futile things to him.
Yeah, and here it says in my book, there is one extra paragraph. They cannot add even a jot of extra.
You explain.
Huh?
I was waiting for you to explain.
Okay. I thought that I did, but anyway, I will. So he's just telling you the dream example, because sometimes I told you that we have a hard time imagining कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है, but dream हमको आराम से समझ में आ जाता है, right? कि dream में जो हुआ वो real नहीं है. So अगर वो he's just giving an example कि भाई कोई मैं अगर समझो गरीब हूँ अब मेरी ज़िंदगी में और मुझे सपना है मैं बहुत अमीर हो गई, फिर मैं जब उठी तो मेरे को क्या वो फ़ायदा होएगा क्या उससे? So that's what he's talking about, because money के नाम पे physical world में सबके कान खड़े हो जाते हैं. That's why he gave that example. So he's just saying that, hey, for the realized soul, it does not add anything to him. And that's why you have both kinds of realized soul. You have people who are very rich, but they're not attached to their wealth, or somebody who has nothing. He's not crying. He's not going to the mandir, oh, please give me some food or this or that. He just, oh, God will take care of me, And then I have heard about Chinmayanandji, because a lot of rich people were also his devotees. So they will bring him gifts. So he will accept it from them. वो भी नहीं करेगा, ओ नहीं जी मैं पैसे को तो छूता ही नहीं हूँ. He doesn't have the attachment. तो वो क्या करेंगे, वो समझो किसी ने घड़ी दी तो वो घड़ी ले लेंगे उससे, फिर किसी और को दे देंगे. कोई डिवोटी आया, उनको पता है उसको ज़रूरत है कुछ, उसको दे देंगे. You know what I'm saying? So there is that detachment is there because they don't have that kind of connection like we do.
They cannot even add a jot of extra joy or pain unto him. He has become the sole proprietor of bliss absolute. To Kubera, the treasure of the heavens, even a kingdom on the globe, is of no profit and has no power to make him dance in ecstasy.
So he's just giving the example of Kuber. Kuber को बोलते हैं ना कि he is the richest man in the world, right? और वो भी क्या heavens का richest man है, not. So he's saying अगर उसको किसी ने कुछ इधर उधर का दे दिया उसको क्या फर्क पड़ने वाला है, Like I remember in my 10th grade class one, we were asking, hey, do you have any example? So he's saying it's like Steve Jobs, when he was alive. Somebody gives him a computer as a gift. I thought that fellow thought about that example pretty nicely. You got the whole kingdom and you are the creator of these, these kind of computers. It's not going to make a difference to him. So, anyway, any comment, question? Somebody wants to add anything to this? I think that next verse also is going to talk about this another part of his personality. that what we have to look forward to that, So we'll do that next time. So I'm assuming everybody's doubts are gone. At least ज्ञान के हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं अच्छे लेवल पे पहुंच गए, right? If you guys are not discussing, so I'm assuming that.
I learned that I used to think that the Anand Maya Kosha is the ultimate. Like you lose the other koshas and then you merge with the Anand, which is Satchit Anand.
Yeah, but now Anand Maya still goes.
Now I know.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll send an article I just saw from Sivananji about describing the 5 koshas and why Atma is not the kosha.
Right. That's where I said that I have seen a lot of people, and our teacher used to also explain to us that people get confused because वो subtle body को मान लेते हैं वो.
Right.
Final, but that's not it.
Yeah.
It's beyond that, And I think that, I don't know if you guys listened to that one lecture by Osho about, the mind, because we try to catch the Atma by intellect, and he's saying it's not going to happen.
Right.
You need heart for it. That's why I say, you need, like what Swamiji talks about is that you need merging of intellect and heart. And when he's talking about heart, he's not talking about this pumping, organ that we have. That's not it. Because the spiritual heart, he talks about all the good things that we have in us, like kindness, love, compassion. उनका जो source है ना, उसको heart बोलते हैं.
Yeah, that is one of the chakras.
Yes. So वो और intellect जब merge होएगा ना, तब जाके फिर वो you become ready for realization.
Right.
Only with intellect you try to catch, it will bomb completely. Only logic को लेके बैठ जाओगे, और only खाली भक्ति को लेके बैठ जाओगे तो emotionalism में बह जाओगे. So you need like a balance of both. So that's what he's talking about. Okay, so I'll close Bhagavad Gita here. Because these are like, I don't want to do too much. I think one verse, time is enough because we can contemplate more. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.